What's up, you guys, and welcome to the Neo Dark Sage channel, where we talk about any and everything media and entertainment related. And today's video, you obviously saw from the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about some of the albums / projects that I've been listening to lately. And if you like this type of content, go ahead, like the video. That way you can show support so I can do more content like this, and hit the subscribe button so you can see more content like this in your feed. Now, I will say this right now, I do not post frequently. I post literally whenever I want, and I post whatever I want. So I'm very inconsistent on this channel. If you want to see all my other channels, go ahead, links will be in the description down below. But coming back to the actual video and getting out the shameless plugs part, I kind of listened to a hodgepodge of things recently, and the first album that we're going to start with today is going to have to be Nas's King's Disease 3. Now, I have not listened to Nas since his Life is Good album, and that album for me, it was all right. I think Nas is one of those rappers where I definitely did not like his production choices, and I know it's been like a recurring thing for Nas, but with this King's Disease 3, I have a different perception on it, because this is actually produced by Hit Boy, and Hit Boy to me makes some pretty good beats overall until I've heard this album. This album has no skips. The production was phenomenal. Nas sounded so great on this album. It makes me want to listen to King's Disease 2 and 1 and that Magic album that he has in between 2 and 3. So this album right here, King's Disease 3, was so good, so phenomenal. Literally, when I was playing this in my car, I never do this, I was yelling. Yes, like I said, I was yelling because this album was so good. Some of the beat switches, some of the flows that Nas actually uses and incorporates in some of these tracks, and the subject matter. It's not all about, I get money, I get girls, I get cars, I get all that. It's not really stunning. It feels like, I'm talking to like an older OG, but he's not too old to be out of touch. But he's like, he's still young enough to be hip with what's happening right now currently. And I gotta say that King's Disease 3 is so good that I gotta buy this album on vinyl whenever it comes out. Like in a few days, I saw that it's on pre-order and it ships in a few days from now. I gotta get this bad boy because this was so good. And I gotta listen to King's Disease 2 and 1, because if Hit Boy was cooking like he was on this album, I already know that Nas is gonna bring the bars and the lyrics. I just need to hear those other albums. And I heard Magic was pretty good too. I didn't listen to Magic. I didn't even know Magic released, but I'm gonna go ahead and listen to those 3 albums. But King's Disease 3, phenomenal album. It might be one of my favorite albums within the past few months. And next album that we gotta talk about is another album that I really like, but it's definitely it's an acquired taste. And it's the Yeat album, his newest project, Afterlyfe. Now, I loved his Life EP or project, whatever that was. I love the sound and direction that he was going in, because I feel like Yeat is kind of finding this new sound in hip hop where it's kind of like rager music, as I've heard it online, where it's like super heavy bass driven, dark, moody music. And I feel with Life, he did it really well, and I really love Life. But with Afterlyfe, I feel like he turned it up a notch. And there are some tracks on here that I really love, and there are some tracks on here that I really don't like. But overall, I do like the project. I will say that Yeat is definitely in his own lane, and no one can really replicate it. And trust me, I've heard some Yeat clones. They do not sound as good as he does on this actual album. Some of the sound effects that he makes, some of the ad-libs he has, and when it actually comes to Yeat music, I think he could flow well, but I don't go to Yeat for lyrics. I go to the actual sound, how he sounds on the actual, production, and just the way the song actually comes together. Now, there are some tracks that I really love on this album, like the second track with him and NBA Youngboy. We got the third track, and that bell, that little bell that comes in every time he ding, that gets me every time. It gets me hype every time. The song Split, oh my gosh, there are so many good tracks on this album. I just feel like because it's Yeat, a lot of it is gonna sound the same, and that could be a big problem for people who are not into Yeat. I feel like with Yeat, you either love him or you hate him. I'm in the camp of I love him, and like I said, I'm just going to his music just to hear the sound, basically. Like, I'm just trying to be put in the mood. I'm not listening to this for some spiritual, miracle, lyrical type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's Yeat. He's gonna talk about big tonkas. He's gonna talk about how much money he got. He's gonna talk about how you wasn't there for him when he was first starting and when nobody had his back. And I don't know what it is with Yeat, but I love his creativeness when it actually comes to his music. Afterlyfe is definitely a good project, but I will say that it is bloated. I will say that it's kind of bloated, and there are a few tracks that you could kind of scrape off that I really didn't like Heavyweight, I hated that. I hated that. But there are some tracks that I really do love on this, and I don't know what it is, but if you're like a Yeat fan, you can hear the difference between beats, but I can understand from someone who isn't in tune with Yeat, it probably all sounds the same. So I understand that people don't like it, but I really love the Afterlyfe project. Next album we gotta talk about is Jid's The Forever Story. Now, my boy Sam recommended me listen to this, and Jid, I always thought that he was a pretty good rapper. The one thing I have against him is that he sounds a bit too much like Kendrick Lamar when Kendrick Lamar does a little whiny whisper type of voice, you know, like Jid sounds like that all the time. So that is one thing that's always kept me from listening to Jid. I've heard some of the Never Story, I think that's what it's called, but I never listened to it in full. And this is the first project I'm fully listening to Jid, and honestly, his lyrics is good, his flow is good. I just did not like the production. There was nothing keeping me wanting to come back to these tracks. Like, there was no song where I was like, oh, I gotta rewind that. Now, there's like 2 or 3 songs that I really do like, but overall to me, this album sounds samey. And I know you could probably say that for a lot of people on this actual listening log or whatever I call this, but I don't know. It's just like the production really wasn't there for me. And I'm like a super Southern hip hop type of guy where I like the bass to be booming. I like my trunk to be knocking. I like to hear the vibration of my car going. And honestly, with this Jid album, I don't think the production was bad necessarily, but there were no beats that really stuck out to me, and it all just kind of sounded samey. Like, it all kind of flowed in together. And Jid, to me, he doesn't wow me. I'll say that Jid is a good rapper. He knows how to flow. He knows how to actually make a song. It didn't wow me. It didn't captivate me. I feel like I'm never going to listen to this album ever again. Now, Jid, I will give him another try on his next album, and I will listen to the Never Story just to give him another chance to see where he was going. I've heard his hit off of that album, obviously, but I don't know. The Forever Story, it was cool, and I listened to the expanded version, I think it was called. I will say that Lil Wayne had a nice little feature on that album. Ooh, Lil Wayne was in his bag, but Jid, he just doesn't captivate me as a rapper as much. Now, next project we gotta talk about, and I know none of you guys would ever expect me to talk about this, and this has to be Ice Spice's EP, Like. Now, I was in the car with my girl when I first heard this, and Ice Spice is a character, because she has to be a character. I like Ice Spice, the social media persona version of Ice Spice, because it's so funny. She's trying her hardest not to be boxed into that one-hit wonder category, especially with the whole TikTok generation where people only know you for your hook and people don't really care to stay for the actual music or the verses itself. And with Munch being on there, Bikini Bottom being on there, I will say that overall the project sounds the same. It's Ice Spice rapping on drill beats with her very monotone voice. She has no type of switch up in flows. She doesn't have good bars or good delivery overall, but I will say that she was all right on some of these beats. Now, some of these beats, I will say that they kind of lacked inspiration in terms of like drill music itself. I've definitely heard better drill beats overall, but this one really wasn't that great to me. But I will say that she knows how to make a catchy song and a catchy hook. I did like She in Her Mood. Some of the bars and some of the flow on there is actually hilarious to me. To me, she reminds me of a female Nav, where Nav necessarily doesn't have the greatest of lyrics. He has a very monotone delivery and he has no type of bars, but they know how to get on the beat. They know how to rap. I wouldn't say they rap well, but they know how to do what they're doing. I think there's like only like 1 to 2 songs on this project that I just did not like and I will always skip forever, but She in Her Mood is a very funny song, and Princess Diana, I will say that that's probably the one song I like on here the most because of the way she flowed and how the beat was. Now, the sample with I Need a Girl Part 2, I don't like the bars. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like the production on it. Making a drill version of this, and it just sounded so uninspired and it sounded so lazy. It just sounded like you put the stereotypical like it just sounded like you put the stereotypical bass sounds on I Need a Girl. And I don't know, just Lil TJ, he also didn't do anything for me on this project as well. Well, on his feature, well, he doesn't do anything for me at all in general, but that's besides the point. Overall, this is definitely like for the women. This is for the ladies right here. This is not for the men, and I won't criticize it saying, you know, Ice Spice is the worst rapper ever. I will definitely not say that. She definitely has some room to grow, some room to improve, and I definitely would like to see where her career will go after this EP. Now, she has about like what, 6 or 7 songs on here, and it's like 13 minutes. I can't imagine her doing an album, and honestly, Ice Spice, if you're not comfortable with doing an album, don't. Sometimes I think that you know how long you could go, and them 2-minute songs is probably perfect for what you're going for, because it could get very monotonous just listening to Ice Spice over and over back to back, because she really doesn't change it up at all. Now, next project we gotta talk about, and this one was actually recommended to me from Lana, so shout out to Lana, and it's Snot's Ethereal. And I will say I did not like this album at all. Oh my gosh, this album was bad. This Snot guy, I've heard of him from a Cochise, not sample, but a song, and I didn't like his verse on that. I don't like any of his verses on this project right here. Ethereal, I feel like the production captures what he was going for with the title of Ethereal as his album. And the album cover is nice. That might be the best thing about this album, but besides that, there was really nothing in here for me. To me, Snot is one of the most unoriginal rappers that I've heard in a long while. He sounds like XXXTentacion, Ski Mask, Juice WRLD, all blended together to make something. He's literally the stereotypical rapper, and I did not like any of his flows. I did not like any of his bars. I didn't like any of his lyrics. There was nothing I really liked about Snot. Now, maybe he has some better projects before this one. I don't know. And maybe my expectations were set a little too high, even though it was kind of down here for him. But either way, this album was not good. I think this is probably one of the worst things I've heard in a long time. I never see myself wanting to come back to this project ever in my life. And for the love of God, please don't listen to this. This album was, or project, whatever it was, he had some pretty heavy feature names on there like Juicy J and A$AP Rocky, but I'm just trying to see how you go so bad with an album. Oh my gosh. I wish that I could, there were some songs where it's literally the same thing over and over. He does not change it up at all like that for me. It was just disappointing overall. And I can't really say disappointing because I had no expectations for him. It was just bad. I'm never going to listen to this. If this is how Snot always sounds, if this is like his best project for his fans, I'm never going to listen to him. I'm never going to like him. And the last project that we got to talk about, and one of the most disappointing ones for me, has to be Don Toliver's Lovesick. Now, this is probably going without being said. I was heavily disappointed in this album, especially coming off of Life of a Don. Now, Load as an album, oh my gosh. That album was phenomenal. That's his best piece of work, bar none. That was such a phenomenal album. And then we got Lovesickness, or Lovesick, whatever it's called. I was kind of sick of listening to this. There was nothing outstanding here for me. I feel like Don Toliver might have peaked with his last album. Now, Don Toliver still is a good artist to me. I still like Don Toliver. I like Donnie Womack. I like Heaven or Hell. I like Life of a Don. I like most of his features, especially the ones on the Metro Boomin album. Oh my gosh. Don Toliver was killing it. Oh my gosh. One of them nights, or One of a Night, whatever it's called, the third track on that album, Don Toliver was killing it. I'm still putting that on repeat to this day. But this album right here, man, oh my gosh, this was definitely a letdown from what I was expecting from Don Toliver. I just felt like with Life of a Don, everything was sequenced well. The vibe was perfectly captured. Man, I wish that album came out on vinyl. But this Lovesickness album is getting a vinyl, and I'm gonna buy it because I'm a Don Toliver fan. He's from Texas. I gotta support my Texas boys. But this one right here, I didn't really like it that much. And I didn't listen to the deluxe or the extended version or whatever it's called with the extra tracks. And the fact that he put the extra tracks at the beginning of the album, I don't like that. That's one thing I hate about deluxe albums, is when the rapper puts the bonus tracks in front of the actual album itself. No, that's just nasty sequencing. Put them at the end. But nevertheless, I digress. I did not like this project. I thought it was very disappointing, especially coming off of Life of a Don. Now, I might need to give this another listen. I don't know. I heard a lot of people really liking this. Maybe it's because I'm not sick of love. I don't know. Y'all could be some lonely people out there. I don't know, but you guys let me know in the comment section if I'm tripping on this lovesick, disappointment. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. None of the bars, I don't look for bars from Don Toliver, but really the production wasn't there. I think vocal performance wise, Don Toliver does it for me. He's always going to be there. But when it comes to production, it gotta be spotty sometimes. You get what I'm saying? It's not spotty all the times. Most of the time he's pretty hit, but this album to me was a complete miss. I like 2 or 3.5 songs off this whole project, and I think it's 14 to 15 songs. Yeah, I was literally waiting for this to be over, but hey, it can't get worse than Snot's album. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about what I've been listening to lately. Recommend me some stuff down below that I should be listening to. I do plan to actually get into some discographies, so that way I can rate some discographies on the channel. But I might have to jam that NAS. That NAS King's Disease 3, oh my gosh, was so hard. Like I said, it had me yelling in my car. I never yell in my car, and the way Nas flowed on that, oh my gosh. I've been looking for some lyrical, spiritual, miracle type stuff with some good production behind it, and Nas definitely hit that mark for me. But like I said before, let me know what you thought about some of the stuff I've been listening to recently, and let me know some of the stuff that you've been listening to recently. And if you like this type of videos, make sure you comment down below that you like this and you want more of this, and hit the subscribe button. That way you can see more of this type of content in your feed. Like I said, I upload inconsistently on this channel, so make sure you probably put the notification bell on, so that way you know whenever I do upload on this channel. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. Dark Sage out. Peace.